We are
Okay, we are live. We will call the Committee on City Operations to order at 4 p.m. Please let the record reflect that all committee members are present. And apologies to the committee and attendees for the previous meeting as I was out ill with an excused absence. If I could have a motion for the minutes of May 14th.
So moved.
Proper motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the general public here today who would wish to make any comments? Not exactly sure who all is in the room. Are we all affiliated with?
Yep.
Okay, well, if your item is coming up on the agenda, we will take your comments at that time. Moving on, we do have item 5B. I do understand we have some procedural items to go over with this. However, the property owners, I don't believe are in the room, although I know they were notified of.
Property owner. Or-
Correct.
I don't know if it's on that.
Yours is.
Okay.
Yep, so we will get there. So if we could address item C,
Yep.
and allow the property owners, afford an extra few minutes for them to attend the meeting, and we can address item B when they arrive.
Take a motion to take it off the table.
Yes, so I would need a motion to untable the resolution for claim of appeal, claim number 2227.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, this is untabled. So here we have the claim of appeal number 2227, Alexandra Leonard, for $560 in grass violation fees. And I know that there has been some movement on this from the claims review committee. A portion of the money was deducted from the full amount. And I did have a chance to view the meeting that I was not able to attend to understand what that conversation looked like at the time. So if we could, I suppose, I guess first I would ask the Alexandra.
Yep.
Is there any additional information that you had planned to bring or submit today? We do have the full packet. We have your letter, the photos. All of that is included with the information that we have.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to add, really. This is like in regard to pollinator gardens on my behalf, but also in general, on behalf of many residents in the city that do their yards in this way. And that, is honestly super beneficial to have that biodiversity. When we've lost 70% of insects in the last 25 years, which is important to our survival as well. So, I hope within the packet that I made clear that what I do here is very important to me. And as someone who works as an artist, as a gardener, this area is part of my workplace too, so yeah, it just felt very personal.
Thank you for that. I know that when the conversation left off in the previous meeting, and I will obviously open it up to committee members if you have additional things to add on the previous conversation, but I believe there were some questions that were outstanding. A request from Councilmember Cost to review the international property code and some updates that, were adopted there. Does that address the plants, or would it be form-based zoning? I believe was the question that we left off with at the previous meeting. So is there any new or additional information there?
The IPMC does reference the MCL, which I sent to him. I mean, I printed a copy of it, but nothing additional other than that.
And there was some, opinions certainly from the property owner, the 7 days to comply. I believe it was between October 16th was the notice date 7 days to comply by the 23rd, and it looks like,
But it didn't arrive in the mail until a week later. Like 16th was the date, but I didn't have it in the mail and I was out of town for work. So, you know, that narrow window when, you know, this has never happened to me before and that area has not been mowed in like behind a fence in over a decade, you know.
my understanding though is that there was some growth in the right of way. Is that correct? That's what the documents.
But what was there at the time of mowing was not over 8 inches. Like I had gone through it and, you know, addressed that in the email that I had sent the day it got mowed.
Any questions or comments from committee members on this? I am taking up a lot of area, so.
No, I think just at the time, our question was, this was gonna be addressed like further down the road, but at the time of this incident and this mowing, the code read specifically to these circumstances. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, that was my only question.
Yeah, I'm looking at the photo of Meredith is I can't quite make out the date. 10:30 maybe?
That was the day it got mowed.
The front yard photo, is that before or after everything was mowed down?
I guess I would need to see which photo.
I mean, it's not, it looks like it was taken at night, which is part of the problem. It would have been after, yeah, 10, so it would be 10:30 because I can see it on the one with the address and then it's the next photo. The front yard. Know if that's post mow down or pre mow down?
We looking at this photo?
Yes, I
Yeah,
believe.
that's
That is, from our contractor.
after they mowed.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming it looked. I can't really tell what it looks like from.
There's a photo that council member cost reference with the address, the 425. You can see at the top of the door. And I'm curious about the photo right before that. It looks like there is the stick with the measurement.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, do you have a cleaner picture
Uh,
of the one with the measurement?
this one?
Yes, because ours is all fuzzy. That would be helpful.
It's probably just because of.
Can I look at other?
Yeah.
Anyone else want to see this photo?
I'm looking. Yeah, similar to what I see. That one is a bit more clear though.
Yeah, it's to really tell in that photo. I mean, forgive me for my ignorance, Alexandria. The items with the little tails on the end of them, like yeah, these with the tails right here,
Yeah.
fuzzy tails.
So that had to have been before, like, when the violation was there, because I had like literally hand removed all of those that were like going to seed.
And we don't have, after the measurement, we don't have any other pictures, like,
The only photos I saw in a packet that I believe are from the contractor were like after it was mowed.
yeah, that's what I'm getting. So I see the violation, the 16th was the violation date. Yes. So do we have photos, of non-compliance before we sent the contractor? Photo.
Yeah.
To go from 10:16 in our packet to 10:30,
10:30.
which is contractor photos.
I didn't see anything in between that, and I think I have the same packet that you're looking at.
44. I'm just trying to get like. Hold on, give me just 1 second.
a question for the city attorney's office. How often is it given, from the Claims Appeal Committee, given back any money, any situation?
I don't know how to answer that. I wouldn't say it's very, it doesn't happen very often. It depends on the type of claim. It depends on the circumstances. There have been a few that come to mind, but I don't have a total number for you.
But it's not a common practice.
Can you, just since we're on that, do you know why they granted the 250?
Yes, we granted 250 because when reviewing the photos, it looked like there had been work done. So to the extent that work was done, we granted what we thought was a reasonable amount.
Okay.
In return.
And the photos of the work done? You have anything?
I mean, this is the before of the contractor based on the timestamp. And then 20 minutes
That one
later
is
is the other.
Okay, so there's, I see.
And so, yeah, it took me a minute to,
The time,
I would say, yeah.
Why does the one that was taken before look like it's more maintained than the one, it doesn't look any different? Except the one looks like it has more dirt.
Wish I could answer that.
Yeah, I think this is a bit confusing for me on the photos.
Much clearer. Click on these two. There's a big difference.
I can't see. from
I
here.
know.
is that the after?
Yes.
Okay, and
And then if you're on the before. I mean, it is very hard to tell.
I found the photos super shadowy and hard to
Oh,
see.
yeah.
I mean, so it didn't, yeah.
I think just going forward, we are taking steps as a municipality to ensure that we're welcoming to homeowners and renters that are interested in maintaining these types of yards and habitats. Is that correct?
There are certain ordinances in place right now. And like we talked about before, we will be discussing, changing some things in the future, but that's in the future.
I
So.
do have a question for
Thank you.
Law, and I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Go ahead.
And I understand there have been some updates, there has been some work done, and it sounds like there's conversation about expanding what will be allowable in the future, and I think that's great, but my question for Law is the timing of when this occurred. It's my understanding it occurred before we adopted the updated international code, and the work was conducted prior to that time. Do we, even though there's an update now, at the time this all happened, everyone was operating under the previous code. So are we obligated to look at that versus what we have today that may have, more variance to that, what's allowable? I'm curious.
It would be the code or law that was controlling at the time.
Code or law that was controlling at the time. Okay, thank you. So even though we have made some strides over time, the code and the law at the time allowed for code to go in and mow, unfortunately, and take out some of those native plants. Correct? Am I understanding that correctly? Yes. Councilmember Cost, you had a question?
Yes, so with, this is for Law, with the partial granting, if we were to move to grant the additional 110, which is the remaining balance, would, I think, or did you grant 310? I can't get my numbers mixed up.
Is that 310?
Okay, so yeah, the balance is 310. Would we need to, would that void your 250? So we would need to do the full amount.
Yes.
So if no one else has anything, I would move to grant the appeal for $560. that Ms. Leonard's asking for based on the photo evidence we have of before and after. I don't feel strongly compelled that that is sufficient photos to show that they didn't, I have no proof they did not do the work. Photos are not good.
Made a proper motion. I do have one more question, if I may. This is not the first time we've had this conversation on the quality of photos that are included in packets that we receive. And I'm just curious to understand if we can have a better discussion or relationship with the contractor who is providing us this information. It does, I don't disagree with council member Cost fully. I don't fully disagree because it's difficult to make these determinations when we don't have the clear photos. I don't necessarily understand why nighttime photos would be taken in some instances, or why, I mean, and some of these, there's clearly some discoloration in some of the photos that we receive. And it does make it quite difficult to make,
I think it's the way that maybe they're scanned over.
yeah, determinations.
If it is very clear from the contractor, the before and after of the backyard, not just the right of way. So, you know, this wasn't just for the right of way. It was for the entire property.
If I may, before we take, I mean, my rationale behind this, I agree with Councilmember Kelly Bonaglu. We really do need better information to make these judgments. $560 is a lot of money for one person. And I'm not typically inclined to, it's very rare that we grant these, just like claims review, it's very rare. So if this body does move forward with doing this, you know, I would love, you know, this whole thing for me was based on the information we had. And that's been most of the reasons why we've overturned a lot of these appeals. If you look at them as information. So I would love to have that relationship with code to be able to get a fuller picture. Whether it's code taking the photos of the violation itself when it happens, and then the checkup. And then, you know, the contractor taking before and after as well. I don't know who mows for the city or does the contractor work, but
There's a new contractor since this. So
which seems to be a common theme.
Okay, so
Yep.
we do have a new contractor. That's good to
Good.
know. And hopefully we can get some of this ironed out because like I said, we've had discussions over that before. And maybe there's an intermediate solution where we're receiving paper copies, you know, just instead of a scanned copy, maybe there's something that's more clear. Or, you know, as committee members, if I'm seeing something and the photo isn't clear, you know, reaching out to your office and saying, can we have something that's a clearer picture? So we'll work on that. We'll work that piece out. And the motion from council member Cost was to to grant the appeal. My
Full.
apologies, to grant the appeal in full. And the reason for that is because we cannot do the partial $310. It would have to grant the full
Correct.
500 and some
Because
dollars.
we void whatever they granted.
Okay. Okay, a proper motion has been made. I will just be upfront about this one because, although changes have been made and we're working to better this entire process, I will not vote in favor of granting the appeal. But I understand this isn't the last step. After we vote, this will go to council on June 8th for the full council to hear the information. And that would be the next step. So with that in mind, all those in favor of granting the appeal, please say aye. Those in favor, those opposed,
Name.
nay. Okay, so the appeal is not granted at this level, but this will be referred to city council on June 8th. We will discuss this with all 8 members. You're certainly welcome to come and address the full council. this packet will be provided to all council members. And if possible, if there's a way that we can have your photos for full council to consider, because again, this isn't, it's not very easy to make these determinations. We can have something clearer that might shed more light at that time. That would be helpful. Councilmember Cost?
Thank you. Question for legal on this issue, because we've just turned down giving this in full. Am I correct that they also lose what the appeals board, which you guys claims review gave them? So, so they lose all of it.
When the determination of claims review committee is appealed. So when the letter was received and, this letter decided to appeal it, that null and voided the original grant. So it was
Okay, so they walk out of here with no relief.
correct.
And then when we take this to council, is it the original question of denying the claim appeal that shows up, or is it that I made that failed?
I would have to double check that, but we will reach out and let you know.
That'd be helpful to understand that.
I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that she now owes the total amount if council does not act differently from this body of $560, not the 300, the smaller amount, what, 250 or 310?
560 to 310.
And now it's back.
Now I owe 560 again for appealing.
Well, no, because if we had denied the appeal, they still would have gotten the original relief that was granted by claims review, correct?
I believe it still would have been voided when it was originally appealed, but
I'm not certain about that.
Just a note, there was a document for the acceptance of the 250 that was, I didn't see a signed copy in our packet. Was that? Do
I
you
did
have a
not.
copy of that?
let me see if I can find it.
But I also understand, my assumption is that if that had been signed, then that would have halted the remainder of this process. Is that correct?
Is it the release you're?
Correct.
Okay. Good point. So if Ms. Leonard had accepted um, the grant of the 250 and signed that release, then that would be the end of the matter. There'd be no, she wouldn't be able to bring any further lawsuits or other items. That's where the liability portion of that release comes in. So it's a release from liability for the city.
So we have voted on this appeal, and Ms. Leonard, as stated previously, 7 PM on June 8th. We will take this up.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion on this? Oh, Councilmember Cost?
I believe this is appropriate. I would make a motion with the understanding of what we just learned now, that she doesn't get a nickel. In fact, we're gonna charge her more motion to reconsider this item. I think the circumstances and understanding of the committee have changed on this item from she's getting partial relief to
To
she
now.
gets nothing.
Right, and owing,
And owing $560, and that I think is even more wrong. Is it a proper time for a motion to reconsider?
One moment. My apologies.
I don't have my motion or my Mason rules with me, so.
So there needs to be a motion that passes out of the committee. So since the first motion to grant in full failed, there can either be another motion or a move to deny the appeal in full.
But that would still grant the credit to them essentially from the other body, right? From the claims review committee.
To do a,
A denial of what she's asking for now would just revert to 310 that.
Versus the 560.
a denial in full would be a denial of the full amount of 560.
So we need to grant. It would be 560.
So the motion, is that a motion to grant the appeal? This is the second motion then, is that correct? Or is
Yes,
it?
so then I would, if. I would make the same motion again, but I don't want, that's not a motion. Do not want to make that motion
I
because I'm
understand.
afraid that it's going to fail, so I will.
If I may. Thank you for bringing that up. My understanding as we voted the first time, is that it was on the 310, right? And then asking that follow-up question about the 250. I'd rather, I was pleased that there was a partial, fee reduction as we entered this conversation. And so discussing that 310, because work had been conducted under the previous, laws that we were abiding by, the policies and all of that. And I didn't desire for the 250, I suppose, amount to not be reimbursed. So, that being said, council member cost, I believe we can entertain a motion if you are willing to move a motion to grant the appeal.
So I would move to grant the appeal.
Okay, a proper motion has been made. This is the second motion on this item. All those in favor?
Wait.
Yes, clarification.
What's the amount?
So this is as if we're considering this,
And it's in full, correct?
Right.
To grant the appeal is in full.
yes, right, because she would have received, let's go back. If the first motion passed, she would have received the 250 she had expected to receive as part of that fee reduction, as well as that 310 that we were considering. So if we grant the appeal, it would be for the full amount.
A motion to deny the appeal would be to only
It would be
the
every,
remaining amount or the
no,
full?
it's,
The full.
But she would still get the credit or not,
No.
Lisa?
no, the
wanna
credit
chime in?
is.
Yes.
Yes, there,
Table.
we do have.
Well, I'm gonna,
Councilmember Costs motion.
Sure.
I would like to hear from Lisa.
Okay, let's hear Lisa's comment and then we will vote directly after Lisa's comment.
From my understanding of what has happened thus. Claims Review Committee voted to grant a portion of the claim. That was appealed to this body. So the entire amount essentially is in front of you for consideration. Councilmember Cost made a motion to grant the claim in full, the entire amount. That motion failed. At that point, there's nothing to send to council until you guys have a motion that passes. So if council member makes a motion, Councilmember Cost, for example, a motion to grant in full again, you can take a vote on that. If it fails, there's nothing to send to the full body. A council member may choose to make a motion that grants the claim in part, the amount being the $250 previously considered by the Claims Review Committee. And then you can take a vote on that. If that fails, there's still nothing to send out to the full council. Do you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, this body has to come to a vote that has essentially a motion that gets a majority of the votes to send out to the full council.
Thank you.
Does that provide some clarity?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And so Councilmember Cost, to clarify your motion was to grant the appeal in full.
Correct.
And my understanding is that when we vote on this motion, if this motion passes, it will be sent to full council. Is according to what you.
Any motion that passes.
Okay, okay, now in the second motion, all those in favor of granting the appeal in full, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, motion passes 2-1. This will go for consideration in front of the full council.
Thank you, Lisa.
And June 8th at 7 PM in front of full council.
Okay,
Maybe-
so to clarify,
Yeah,
what
Thank
just
you.
happened.
Sorry about that.
Yes, Chairman, go ahead.
Yes,
Chairwoman.
so.
Sorry.
So we have now voted to grant your appeal in full, which would be the full 500 and some odd dollars.
Okay.
This will go to the full council and full council will vote on whether or not to finalize that
I see.
item. So you are welcome to attend that meeting. You're welcome to comment at that meeting. You can certainly submit comments in writing as well to full council before June 8th, if you'd like.
Okay,
And again, full council will receive a copy of what we have been reviewing as a committee as well.
okay, heard.
Councilmember Cox?
If I could just add, I would strongly urge you to count because this was a split vote, so there will, typically if it's a unanimous vote, that's what happens on the floor.
Okay,
But I don't have a crystal ball, but it was a split vote, so I would certainly suggest that you come or knock on my door and say hello, because we live around the corner.
okay, so a majority of the council then has to consider
Correct.
this in full to make it a final.
Correct, but the recommendation from this body is to grant full. I would strongly urge you to come to council.
Okay,
Thank you. Going back on our agenda to item 5B, the resolution on claim of appeal, claim number 2223, Brian and Karen Holmes for $502 in red tag fees at 420 Sawyer Road. Do we have the property owners here? They did not appear. Okay. I understand that before this particular item was not tabled officially, it was moved to this meeting, so there would be no motion to untable, but council member Cost?
Yes, I would, I need to recuse myself from this matter as they are family.
So that is council member Cost's motion to recuse himself from this matter. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay. Council member Cost is recused from this. Meredith, we are on to 420 Sawyer Road. We did receive from your office, I know there was some conversation about whether or not the water was shut off during the time that this property was rented. And we did receive a copy of an email to Robert Walling, who was with Water and Light, and it terms water off, electric active, with no other information provided, but I believe that, and that was received by your office on April 29th of 2025. Do you have any information on this, if you'd like to recap from your office? I know this was not discussed at all in the previous meeting, so.
It was just, I know that there was, I believe in the packet, property owner stated that there were no utilities off at that time. So that was just us providing that we did verify with BWL that in fact the water was off the day that the property was tagged.
Okay. And of consumers' energy bills as well as Board of Water and Light bills. I do see and I had, initially, I did have a question on whether, what the service dates were. As I was going through Consumers Energy, it looked like they had bills, submitted from May through November of 2025. And then a service date on the Board of Water and Light bills, the first, copies that we received was from July, but for the service dates of May 7th through, I believe, June 6th, perhaps. Like there.
Property was tagged
Sorry, May
April
7th.
29th.
Yeah, it was tagged April 29th, and it looks like they received a bill for service from May 7th through June 5th. And they were given, some time to apply with the notice. But I do have a question about the notice, and I'll open it up to Councilmember Martinez if she has additional questions. There were two portions of the notice that were, that we have in our packet. And apologies as I scroll to get there. There are two portions of inspector comments, and I'm looking at the notice printed on 4/29/25, the safety inspection correction notice, re-inspection required. In our packet, it's page 32 of 80.
Okay.
So the first section references section 108.1.3, structure unfit for human occupancy. It has the standard language within that paragraph. And the inspector's comments state that the unit is unfit for human habitation. Full inspection will be conducted on the return visit for the building reinspection. All elements must fully comply at that time. Then there's another portion where again references section 108.1.3, lack of required utilities to the dwelling, which is where the inspector comments are that the water is currently off. The question I have is this property red tagged solely because of the water reportedly not being on at that time, or was it the water and that the home was unfit for human habitation?
Yes, tagged strictly for no water because no water does make it unfit.
I was just clarifying what I was reading because it looks like it's portioned,
Yes.
and not one statement regarding the water. So I just wanted to make sure that I was.
I think that was him trying to spell it out more easily.
Yeah, and so I see the inspection date was, April 29th. The compliance due date was 5/29, and they've submitted a Board of Water and Light bill stating that they had service on May 7th on 5/7. So
When we tag a property, whether, even if it's just for no utilities, it does require for us to come in and do an inspection before we remove the tag.
Mhm.
That didn't take place until November.
okay, that's because it hadn't been scheduled until November with your office, the outreach to your office.
Yes. They didn't reach out to us and to have a reinspection until November. And at that time, it appears there were no working smoke detectors. So just that in itself would trigger us to not remove the red tag until that is at the very least done. And my understanding is that there has been recent conversations that they are almost ready for us to come back to do another inspection to remove it.
Okay, Councilmember Martinez.
I would make a motion to deny the claim appeal.
Okay, a proper motion has been made. I would like to have heard from the property owners directly on this, to understand their point of view. However, we do have a proper motion to deny the claim of appeal. And I do see, I apologize, I do see now the inspection of November where again, it did not pass the inspection. So, we do have a proper motion. All those in favor of denying the claim of appeal, please say aye. Aye. The claim is denied. Thank you for that. So we are moving on to our discussion item, item D, permitting and enforcement of fireworks in city parks. We do have with us LPD, LFD, we have code, we have parks. Thank you for being here and all of you for being here. This discussion was brought forward from an email that council received from a resident in the third ward regarding fireworks that had gone off last year at Ingham Park. I do believe you may have received a copy of that. The resident's name is Steve Bell. He was invited. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. You can certainly take a seat at the table if you'd like.
Sure.
We do have your email. That is, what really spurred this conversation here today. More for general awareness, but just to, again, ask some clarifying questions of those that we have in the room. And then for us to better understand as council members and as a committee, when things do arise, when complaints do come up, can best help address and help support those instances that happen within the neighborhoods on those sometimes very busy holiday nights and weekends. So Mr. Bell, if you'd like to just take a few moments, and I know that you had some requests within your email, right? Like a clarification of, permitting of fireworks. So take it just, 2-3 minutes.
Sure.
On to the departments.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern is just that there was a lack of clarity among the residents in my neighborhood about what was okay and what wasn't okay. And frankly, it led to a lot of conflict that was completely unnecessary. We had neighbors ready to fist fight because they were drunk and wanting to party. Some of us didn't like it, some of us did. I was among those that did not. On top of that, because we had basically 2 hours of this going on, people drinking, which they're not supposed to be doing at the park either. Someone started a fire in the middle of the field. And I ended up calling the fire department to get that put out, which caused some conflict with me and my neighbors. The problem is that the people that were there setting off the fireworks were told that, or at least they said they were told that it was okay to have a fireworks show in the park. My understanding is that it's not okay and that it's against the law. The concern is, like you said, it's a busy evening. You got enough to deal with. I definitely understand that. But gosh, I never agreed to live under a fireworks display. I never would have. It's terrifying for the local wildlife. It's terrifying for folks that are PTSD vets, things like that. Terrifying for my dogs. Frankly, it's just unsettling to feel my house shake down to the foundation for 2 hours straight. And we really couldn't get any help until they started an illegal fire. Of course, and I understand why. But so we're just looking for unity in policy here and clarification to folks. If we're going to allow the fireworks, please give the folks that live near these parks advance warnings so we can prepare. Trazodone for the dogs, for example, things of that nature. But we got no warning. I mean, July 4th, I was expecting to sit at home and deal with a lot of noise, but I wasn't expecting it to be in my front yard, right? So, yeah.
Thank you very much for those comments. And my assumption after receiving and reviewing the email is that you're more than likely not the only resident who has this occur within their neighborhoods throughout the city, in various spots. Maybe not every year, but certainly it does happen. And we do have our local ordinance. We do have state of Michigan law that dictates when folks can set off fireworks. And so that's great to share this information out, but I'm also just wanted to hear a bit from Parks, LPD, LFD. When these situations arise, and right now my focus is 4th of July, but they're allowable on other holidays. We have New Year's, Memorial Day, which just passed. We're looking forward to the 4th of July, and then again on Labor Day, right? So I think that 4th of July, 17th, thank you for that. It's not, we should add that to our flyer of allowable fireworks.
That's not in the policy.
If I could, in fairness, last year was the first time that anyone did like a full-on fireworks show at the park, right? we've had people show up there to set off fireworks on like odd days, and we've dealt with that. Police have come out and let them know, hey, this don't belong here. But this is the first time that that actually happened, and that the folks that were doing it are basically saying, hey, we were told that this was okay.
Right.
So that's why the concern.
I would be making an assumption by stating, I'm not sure who told them that would be okay or allowable, but let's start with parks, because that's the first part, right? Like, when parks are utilized, my understanding is they close at sunset. So, Director Shinsky, if you could give us
Yeah.
some information on parks specifically, city parks.
So you're right, we do have the ordinance for dawn till dusk, except when labeled otherwise. So an example of that would be, we have posted at Rotary Park till midnight. Another is for allowable activities. An example of that would be Geyer Park has lighted fields for softball, baseball, etc. It is allowed at that. And any other things that, any other activities, whether during the day or even into the evening time, would be permitted through a couple of things. Number one, on a park permit. Number two, a special event permit application, otherwise known as a SEPA. None of those were issued for that. We have had individuals at multiple parks request to do their own show, do their own display. None of those have been permitted. We highly encourage all individuals to come to the show that the city puts a lot of money into and a lot of resources into in the downtown at Riverfront Park. And then the same would hold true for whether the Lugnuts have a game or whether they do not have a game and have a special event with them. So, we've had situations where there have been injuries from these fireworks. So when coming into an event, for instance, at Adado, we have security there to keep all residential, is what I'll call them, fireworks out, because we have a company that is shooting that, has a safety zone, goes through all the permitting process that you see for a fireworks display. So.
Correct. And so my understanding, based on what you've just shared, is that at times you may receive requests for a special permit to conduct firework displays within city parks, and those are routinely denied. In fact, you never grant them.
We have never granted a fireworks display permit other than, again, with the special event permit application, which could be Silver Bells, which could be, or is the 4th of July as well. So again, outside of that, we have never done a residential or.
For instance, a smaller city park on the east side or neighborhood park on the
Yes.
south side, or, over there. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you for that. And speaking of, keeping people safe downtown, my assumption is that a bulk of our first responders through the police department and the fire department would be downtown on the 4th of July holiday to help with those displays and be available in a variety of different capacities, right? I'm thinking traffic, general safety, patrolling, and then being able to respond if something happens there. But my question for both of you would be, if there is a situation within a neighborhood on a busy holiday where fireworks are going off, such as, 4th of July or the upcoming Juneteenth, thank you for that reminder. What is the best course of action for someone in a local neighborhood to do? Is it to call 911? Is it to call the non-emergency line? How should we best reach out for help in those situations?
Well, I'll answer, but before I answer, cost, just to go back to what both of you guys said. Unless we change the ordinance, Juneteenth is not on the ordinance for fireworks. So before we give that,
I thought we
We
did.
passed.
okay, it's not on the city website where we pull these off. It's not on there. So
Oh, well, that.
we might want to update that one then.
I guess that's a question for law.
Uh,
Should have been updated, right?
yeah, I have the ordinance pulled up right now. Juneteenth is not there. I believe the one that was included in the packet didn't have that.
Okay, so the PDF file I print off does not have
Or
that.
17th last year, because we had, it was a group of folks that asked for that day for.
Mhm.
So according to what our ordinances with the city Lancaster Fire Department, if you guys somebody resident makes a complaint, we follow up with the complaint. So no matter what the complaint is, we'll follow up. Given a 4th of July holiday where you're getting hundreds of calls for first responders, it'll probably go based off like what police does, is off a priority. I don't make those calls as a dispatch decision, but if you have a shooting or a large gathering or an injury or something like that, those are gonna take priority of our personnel before shooting off fireworks. Does that mean it's not a danger? No, it could be a danger if it gets out of hand, causes a fire. All those things could come into effect, but if the call comes in, my assumption would be if we just have a large complaint of firework noise, stuff like that, that's probably on the low priority end for our response. But we don't make those calls because if the call gets called to dispatch, so if the resident calls dispatch, says, hey, I have this going on, when dispatch tones our people out, they'll respond at that point. So our response is based off of the response of dispatch contacting us.
That's
So,
really helpful to know, like, you're not making that determination, like, you're getting what dispatch is sending to you where they are sending you.
Correct.
And you're not making that.
so if you have a complaint that somebody's filing after hours and stuff like that, obviously we, as the fire department, fire marshal, we can write citations based on people not following the ordinance. And we follow those lines, but being the fact that you're given a fine and stuff like that, we're obviously asked on our behalf, probably for police presence to be there because most people aren't happy when they get a ticket. So then our depends on police being there as well. So I mean, it's kind of give and take in those situations. But like I said, for the civilians that have an issue with the ordinance and it's somebody's not following the ordinance outside the law, so what we have given them, call 911, file a complaint, and then we will follow up with the complaint. But it does need to be noted that that complaint has to be at the time doing it. So like if you're doing a legal burn, they have to be an active illegal burn. If they're shooting fireworks after the hours, it has to be during the time they're shooting the fireworks. But the other problem is they could be doing it. And if we show up and they're not doing it, we can't go by hearsay.
That was my next question, because I know that there's up to $1,000 fine for, setting off fireworks in places where you're not supposed to be setting them off, such as a public park after dark. But that was a question I had, much like the speeding issues or noise issues, right? We understand that a lot of times the feedback we have is that you have to see it happen. You have to see it occur. And that can be difficult in a lot of different situations. If you're living across the street from a park and your next door neighbor was doing it, like that's still not good enough. You actually have to see it occur. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct. We would have to actually witness the actions taking place because we could show up at the park and there could be all kinds of residue from them being fired off and people still there, but there's nothing directly saying that that person was the one that was firing it off. We would actually need to witness the actions. And I could tell you the same thing with the fire department. The majority of our sworn personnel will be working on the 4th of July. The vast majority of them will be dedicated to the downtown area because of the fireworks display and everybody else showing up with fireworks and firing them off in the area and creating that safety issue for the downtown area. So that will leave our road patrol will be fully staffed. We'll make sure that our road patrol is fully staffed and we're actually staffing heavy on road patrol for that night also. But, just like the fire marshal said, the calls for service that come in will be triaged by dispatch. And, as with any other holiday, you're going to have a lot of drinking and things that get associated with that, which means that our assaults go up, our violent crimes go up. And those will receive priority. I will say that just like fire marshal said, the calls don't just go away. We will make it out there eventually, but there's limited resources. And for us, a lot of those fireworks complaints, I can tell you in those days leading up, they come in as shots fired complaints. So, sometimes we get out there and it could be a shots fired. Sometimes it could be fireworks. I know you had asked that what's a better way, like non-emergency number would probably be the preference for a fireworks complaint.
And that's what we did. And I just want to clarify, these are people who literally filled up the back of a pickup truck,
Yeah.
backed it up into the field
Yep.
and spent, I'm not kidding you and I'm not exaggerating, 2 hours firing these things off.
Sure.
We got nothing until they started a fire. And then here comes the fire truck, like bing, bang, boom. And that's not a criticism.
No.
Please don't take it that way.
Right.
But my whole thing is like, gosh, it would be really nice if we could just have like some kind of dragnet squad to the side that is just dedicated to like, if somebody shows up at a park with a truckload of fireworks that they're about to set off for a couple hours, that we get someone out there and say, no, that's all I'm asking for, because I can go out there and tell them till the cows come home. They don't care what I have to say,
Yep.
right? And nobody cares about, how they're affecting everybody else. All they care about is their stupid fireworks.
Yep.
Right? And I understand prioritizing and stuff, but I told the dispatch people, this isn't just one person with a couple of bottle rockets. This is a truckload, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of fireworks, like the kind that you would use to put on the show at a Dado. 2 hours straight of this stuff going off above my roof.
Yep.
So
Thank you for that. Just a couple of follow-up questions. The first is for parks. Is there any possibility that we can, I know, I understand this would be a little more manpower and however it would need to be tackled, but even temporary signage to put out at our parks, the ones that maybe are most frequented during the 4th of July holiday, with just that says no fireworks allowed, or anything like that? Is there anything more that we could be doing to dissuade people from?
because that's the other thing. I mean, my whole neighborhood showed up, the whole street parked up and down. I mean, there were probably 300 people at the park.
Right. So if there's, just to consider if there's anything additional that we could do in terms of at least signage, no fireworks allowed, $1,000 fine or something like that, I don't know if that's possible, but I'd like to understand if maybe we could, at least for the most major
So for-
holiday for fireworks,
You're saying for 4th of July or for all of them?
4th of July.
Okay.
I think that, and this is just anecdotal based on what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, the 4th of July may be the busiest firework holiday.
It is. It is, no doubt about it. We can do that in the ones that we feel, and we feel a lot on July 5th. I mean, we are going out there because we're the cleanup team.
Right.
They
Right.
don't take these back with them. So we can get with our maintenance team and say, hey, in these, we're going to put some signage up. Just little, I guess what I would call campaign type signs.
Yard
We can
signs,
have those
something
printed
temporary.
out. Kind of go to the ones that we feel have been,
Advised in the past.
yeah.
Thank you.
where
for
we do
considering
the most cleanup.
That would be awesome. That would be extremely helpful.
anything that could just help dissuade even a bit, right? I mean, we can't predict what people will do or won't do, but that could help. And then my second question is for LPD. I'm sorry, Councilman Cost, this is my last one and then I'm done. Do we ever have any backup enforcement through Ingham County, through the Sheriff's Department?
So I will say that the sheriff's department, they don't typically come into the city to work, right? They will respond on mutual aid calls, and a lot of times when you do see them come into the city, especially during like a holiday, July, it's because we had a hot call that came in, a robbery, a shooting, something like that. They are coming to help us. They are not gonna come in on low priority calls because you have to remember, any of the other agencies are now leaving their residents who are paying taxes in their jurisdictions to come help us. I can absolutely, because you did have the issue last year, I can let my road patrol guys know on new. This one was a problem last year, can you give it some special attention?
Yeah.
And we can absolutely.
All they gotta do is drive down the street and see it parked up like to
Right.
to the gills. It was crazy.
Yep.
We've never had this before. I've had like people show up after midnight on the 4th of July, kind of drunk in the parking lot, setting them off.
Sure.
And we just go outside and say, hey, come on, man. Got
Yep.
kids in the neighborhood sleeping. Can you get out of here?
Yep.
And it's no big thing. But me against 300 people,
Yeah, that
and
becomes an
none
issue.
of the neighbors are gonna go out and be a loudmouth like I am. I'm just bold. if we're being honest, right? But so this is the first time we've ever had this.
How long have you lived in?
16 years I've lived in that house. I mean, I've had people, like I said, I had a guy come down drunk who lives in the neighborhood one evening and set him off at the back of his truck.
Is it something you think will happen again this year? Or?
I am very concerned it will. Yeah, because of the, I mean, people were having a good time and I think they think this is going to become their tradition for the neighborhood. These were all local people that live like Colonial Village, Averill, school area, Ingham Park, around that area. These were all people that lived there. And like I said, there were even people on the block that wanted this to go on, that were angry with me when I called about the bonfire.
Yeah, I think what you said is great.
Yeah,
Know that, we'll have somebody in that area.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be
Because
terrific.
because we know we've had an issue, we'll absolutely give that special attention. I'll try and get some guys to
Thank you.
roll through there, because yeah, then you don't have to worry about like the triaging of calls, because you're right. I do understand, like 2 hours seems excessive, right? But like there's 14, 15 cops working the entire city.
Yeah, I totally
You
get
know,
it. And
because everybody else is stuck
But that's why I
downtown.
wanted to send the email way ahead of time, 2 months ahead. bring it to
Absolutely.
Everybody's attention so that we can all have this open dialogue about it. And I really appreciate everyone.
Absolutely fair.
I really, really do.
Councilmember Cost, your hand, are you all set? Councilmember Martinez, anything
Uh,
to add or questions?
I just want to say I'm completely empathetic to your situation because I live down the street from the Lugnuts and it's hard to tell
I bet.
it's the end of the baseball game or if someone, down the street's having a good time. So I get it.
Yeah.
Spoken up many a time. And I think post-pandemic, people are just so eager to be outside too, I feel like. So I've just noticed because I've lived in my apartment for 8, 9 years now, there's like an uptick in outside activity in general. So I know we're strapped for time and resources and people, so I appreciate everybody doing what they can with what we have. And I also have sympathy for the 2 a.m. loud noises. So.
I mean, it wasn't 2 a.m. It was during the.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I appreciate all of the very robust conversation we've had on the many topics today. Special thanks to our first responders. Thank you so much for what you do and for being here, Councilmember Cost.
Just quickly, I think what's important is we continue to try to find ways to get more clearly more officers, more firefighters in the budget and on the streets.
Yes.
Because all of this is fueled by alcohol. And alcohol, if I remember the state law correctly, puts a bigger penalty on people if they get caught shooting fireworks off under alcohol or mind-altering substances, which is usually the case when someone makes a really poor judgment call, like setting the field on fire.
Yes.
So, I think it's important that we thank our first responders, and we also continue as a council when we pass budgets to remember that, this gets strapped down that tight during the 4th of July. I mean, there's no way, I know if I tried to call LPD for an after midnight shoot on the east side, I'm the crazy guy that's running down the street yelling at my neighbors like, enough. Can you please stop? And usually they're respectful. We've had people.
Maybe we
that's
should
really
start a
wasted,
club.
which is, yeah, well, and I appreciate Brett because I have picked up numerous cakes from parks that are left. He is absolutely right that the evidence is left, and
Right.
unfortunately, you can't do anything with that. It's just burned out. Thankfully, they didn't load it into their vehicle because that would be a whole new problem if they still had one that wasn't off. So this is a very hard issue, and I appreciate you bringing this because there's, like you said, even your own street, this is such a divided issue. Some people
Yes.
love the fireworks, others dislike it. And, full honesty, I worked in the industry for a long time before moving over to the state. And then, it's an interesting subject. I personally don't like them anymore. I'm the sparkler and like, look at the snake move, not a real snake, but
Right.
a toy snake, because I can't do real snakes. So anyways, I appreciate you bringing this and I appreciate everyone coming because I know how that holiday in particular makes your jobs very difficult.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again, everyone, for attending. Yeah,
I say two things that, is
absolutely.
there a way the city can do a better job of getting the information out to the public, saying that no public spaces are allowed?
This was all part of that. This was very intentional
Okay.
to have the conversation. let's start generating that. Let's
All right.
put it on. social media.
Second part, then, I just wanted, the fire department does not have a, non-emergency number.
Okay,
We do during business hours, but on the weekends, and stuff like that, after hours, we do not have an non-emergency number. So in order for us to respond, you gotta either call emergency or LPD would have to request, the on-duty fire inspector to respond
okay,
during after hours.
gotcha.
And I think he brought up a good point, and this is something that perhaps leadership or even I can text the mayor.
Mhm.
We have social media, they can push out stuff. I think Brett Parks has social media, LPD's got social
Sure.
media, you guys have social media. I think you're right. We do need to intentionally push out on all forms of communication, and people tend to spend their time on social media. I think we might even have Twitters. I don't know how it works, but anyways,
Fair point.
I don't think it's Twitter anymore, it's X.
X.
Thank you, Rick.
All right,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, with no further business, we are adjourned at
Fun.
5:04 PM.
No.
Thank you.
Oh, Brett, don't forget to sign in.
Will be.
No.